Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for joining us. It is 9 a.m. And those of you who know us know that we like to be punctual. We like to be mindful of your time. So we're going to give it about another 30 seconds to let any other folks join us who may be running a smidge late, and we'll go ahead and get started. One thing that you will see, so your microphones have been muted. That is not because we don't want to hear from you. We absolutely do want to hear from you. All we're trying to do is cut out background noise, right, during the actual webinar itself. So if you look down on the main menu, you're going to see a chat bar, right? If you click that chat bar, you're going to see my information on the chat panel, right? So you'll see my name, obviously our company, my phone number, and that's my personal phone number. I don't typically do that, but given the circumstances, we want you all to feel comfortable reaching out at any time with any questions. We understand it is a chaotic time. We understand there's a lot of unknown variables, so we want to be as accessible to you as possible. Additionally, I'm going to go ahead and put my email address. If you prefer to email me, you are more than welcome to. I would like for you all to please write down any questions that you may have, whether it's regarding team communication, team culture, personal culture, how it is that you're interacting with folks given our new norm, okay? I'm going to get to those questions. Like I told you, we like to be mindful of your time. So when 9:30 hits, if I haven't answered your question, leave me your contact information and I will get you a response today. Okay, so with that being said, we're at 1 past the hour, so we're going to go ahead and dive in to this content. All right, so the promise for today is this. We're going to equip you and empower you with the 5 main things that you need to know as far as adapting culture. Now, look, as someone who is heavily entrenched and embedded in culture, right? It's very convoluted, it can be very complicated, and there could be a ton of different definitions that exist. So for simplification, when we were talking about culture, what I am referring to is your way of life, okay? So your way of life at home, your way of life in the workplace, okay? That culture that makes up what you do, how you do it, and what you're seeking to achieve, that's what we're aiming in on. Obviously, we have all taken a massive hit, right, with how it is we do things. Our way of life has taken a massive hit, right? We've taken a sharp left instead of going straight in a road, and now we're having to figure out this entire new terrain, right? So as scary as it is, it's an incredible opportunity. It's an incredible opportunity for reconnection and for reinvention, okay? So that's what we want to talk about. So we're going to talk about culture, your way of life, and then we're going to talk about adaptation. Now, adaptation is one of those things that can be a very complicated thing to understand as well. Essentially, when we're talking about adaptation, what I am referring to is how you alter your culture, right? How you alter and change the way you do what you do. Key word there is change. A lot of people don't like change, right? But we also know that when you get too comfortable, it can be dangerous. Right? You start to lose sight of certain things. You start to lose focus of certain things. And sometimes your order of magnitude gets skewed a little bit, all right, when we're too comfortable. But when we're put in times of discomfort, times of rapid change, and it makes us feel uncomfortable, it really puts us in a position to grow, to learn more about ourselves, to learn more about our behaviors, to learn more about the way in which we do things, meaning our culture, and how to make it pliable. All right, so 5 things. Number 1, you ready? Strengthen your communication. Let me say it again. Strengthen your communication. Now, I know that may seem obvious, right? But it is vital, and there's so many facets that go into communication, right? The really important thing to understand about communication, and especially being effective in times of change, in times in which you're changing the way you do things, it's to have communication at the level of dialogue. All right. Now, what do I mean by that? Have you ever had a discussion or a conversation with somebody where you're really scared to say something, or you're nervous to say something, or you're not sure how they're going to respond or going to react? A lot of times that will handcuff us from being transparent, from being authentic, from being completely honest. When you're at the level of dialogue, it's like having a conversation with your best friend, Okay. You can have those exchanges. It's a free flow of information that's going back and forth in real-time feedback. It is vital in times of change, in times of crises, in times of chaos, that your team members have that comfort to be able to express themselves at a level of dialogue. Now, with family, it's no different, right? If you're not having a communication, a level of dialogue, right, with your spouse, with your partners, with your children, with your cousins and your parents, and so on and so forth, it's very difficult to understand the true needs of others, which makes it difficult to understand our own needs. Okay. So you want your communication to be at the level of dialogue. Now, an additional thing that you want to keep in mind there, stay focused on the mission. What is the mission of your organization, right? What is that mission comprised of? And what's the strategy that feeds that mission for it to actually be executed? Okay, that is really, really important. So many times when something chaotic happens, we have a tough time adapting our culture because we don't know how to apply the strategy to actually make it something that's successful. Okay, your strategy has got to be fluid. Now, when I say fluid, what do I mean? If your strategy for success is not based on principles, right? This is really important. If it's not based on principles, right, you're going in with a concrete pillar in the middle of an earthquake, all right? You want pliability, all right? You want your strategy to be focused on certain principles that you follow. Those principles will feed the how of those strategies, and then those strategies will feed attributes and tactics that you can utilize, okay? So that's really, really important. All right, the third thing here. All right, so ensure team alignment. Now this is really important, okay? So when we're talking about team alignment, we're talking about the cohesion that exists. Look, if in your workplace you had a hard time communicating face-to-face with team members, it's going to be a bit of a challenge. It's going to take you a little bit of time to rise to the occasion with having to do everything remote, okay? Why? Because I can't see your body language. I can't see what's happening in shifts, right? With what you're saying and how you're saying it and the energy that you're bringing to the table. So you want to maintain, as a leader, you want to maintain alignment. Now, on the family side, on the personal side, this is vital, okay? Aligning yourself in the core pillars, the morals, the ethics, what it is your family stands for, what it is that you want that role model that is you to express in times of crises when others are looking to you with mom, dad, how do I deal with this? You know, if it was me in your shoes, how would you want me to deal with it? That's the example that has to be set. That's the example that needs to exude and show alignment, right? It's alignment in the long term and it's alignment in the short term, but the short term will feed the outcome of the long term. Okay. So strengthening team communication, right? Number one. All right. Number two. Now this is a little surprising, right? It's 2020. And I think all of us have seen that a lot of folks who are having to adapt, change the way in which they're doing things, there may be some challenges with understanding technology. Now, yes, it's a crazy and chaotic time, right? But we have an incredible opportunity that's never existed in all of history. We are so globally connected that we have the opportunity and the chance to do what we're doing right now. I can sit here and I can speak to all of you, right? You're in the comfort of your home or in your office or wherever you're at, and we can have a fruitful discussion, a productive discussion about how to make ourselves better, okay? That's an incredible thing, but it starts with making sure team members, participants have the right tools. So as a leader, what is it that you have done to equip and empower your team with the right tools? Now, one thing that is vital and essential, so computers are one thing, technology is another thing, but making sure your team members understand the importance of having a personal space, right? A personal space in their domain where they can focus, right? Where there is an assignment and an alignment with what it is that they're supposed to be doing when they occupy that personal space. Listen, when I am in this space, it's time to focus. It's time to knock down the tasks at hand. It's time for me to communicate with my team members and keep pushing this ball forward so we can fulfill the mission, right? And the mission is, let's get through this dark tunnel. Let's keep the wheels in motion. Let's optimize ourselves and be better for it in the long run. Okay. So number one, let's go back, right? Strengthen team communication, right? Number two, ensure all of your team members have the right tools. Now, look, there's a lot more that goes into the tool bag, right? But the whole idea is making sure you've done your part to facilitate success on their end. That's something I think a lot of you know, all right? We're just having to change the way in which we're doing it, given our current circumstances. All right, the third thing. Now, this is really, really important. Adaptation, okay? You want to make sure that you as a leader, that you are focused on consistently adapting to what is going on. If you are able to be pliable, if you are able to adapt, change the way in which you do things, okay? That way you can feed a different type of outcome that is still successful, right? It's just different. If you have the example to set forward with adaptation, it will allow you to facilitate a much easier environment for your team, because you're going to be more open to feedback from your team members. You're going to be more open to certain things that may be shifts in market demand. You're going to be creative, and you're going to be able to push yourself to think outside the box. As a leader, there is a ripple effect. What we do and how we do it is constantly being watched by our team members. So if we're that concrete pillar that's not shifting or moving, and it's just, no, this is how it's going to be, period. You get hit with, a 7.0 magnitude earthquake, that pillar starts to crack, right? We don't want you to crack, because if you crack, who's supposed to lead your team, right? So it's extremely vital that you have open conversations with your team. You invite team discussion about adaptability. You'd be surprised. There may be folks on your team who've got some great ideas on how to push through this thing. If you carry the burden of all that on your shoulders, it's going to be very, very tumultuous for you. You want a lot of hands on deck, not only for the idea of distributing workload, but more importantly, to know that everyone has buy-in. You want everybody in your team to be a part of putting one foot in front of the other. You got to get their feedback. You got to have them focused on that cultural adaptation, right? Changing the way in which you are doing things. Now, here's the thing with very high-performing teams, okay? Trust. Trust is massive, okay? If you don't have trust with your team members, if I can't trust that my colleague to my left or to my right is going to be able to do what they say that they're going to do, if they're not going to be able to have an open mind and maintain resilience throughout chaos, right? It's going to be very difficult to ensure a culture that is focused, pliable, and adaptable, okay? All right, so that number three, so it's ensure a focus of consistent and constant cultural adaptation, all right? So far we've got three, right? We've got strengthen your team communication, right? Ensure your team members have the right tools. And number three, ensure a focus on consistent and constant cultural adaptation. Okay, let's talk number four. Okay, so number four, and we're going to spend a bit of time on this one. Take ownership. It is very easy to point the blame at what's going on in the market. It's very easy to point the blame at, this person did this, or this is this country's fault, right? Or this is this person's fault for not handling this the right way. It's not going to get you anywhere productive, okay? You want to be able to be as transparent, as open, and as fluid to the situation as possible. That means you need to take ownership for what you're doing, what you're saying, and the example that you are setting. Now, this is also very important when you think of it from a family or an at-home context. If you're not taking ownership for your daily habits, right? If you're at home right now, okay, and you've noticed that within the COVID-19 epidemic, right, you are gaining weight, right? You are not sleeping well, right? You're going stir crazy. You're feeling bored. You're doing something wrong, okay? The opportunity we have at hand is this. You don't have to rush from one meeting to the next. You're not being drugged to bars, right, to have cocktail hour after the fact. You're not having to hop on a plane, right, and have, a meeting in LA in the morning and then a meeting in Chicago in the afternoon. That's how to stop. Right now, the focus is you at home being as productive as possible. Own that. Take ownership of what that means. Okay. So first and foremost, it truly does start with you improving your own personal effectiveness. That means self-leadership. How are you leading yourself? How are you pushing yourself to the next level? What are the goals you are setting for your own personal performance? What is the outcome? Because look, if at the end of this thing you come out and you don't have some additional knowledge, you don't have some improved health, right, and wellness. Now, obviously, the offset there is that, heaven forbid you do get affected by COVID-19. That's a different story. I'm talking about things that you can control, the habits that you can control, okay? All right. The second part of this, reducing stress. This is huge, okay? If you are not in a position, right, to take a step back, take the time to meditate. Take the time to breathe. Take the time to go on walks. Enjoy the fresh air. Enjoy the beautiful sunrises, the sunsets. Get on a regimented routine that doesn't require you, right, to do it because you have to. You do it because you want to, because you want to be a better version of yourself. Because if you're constantly growing and you're constantly ascending, right, that means that you're ascending your ability to be effective towards others, because as a leader, you never stop being a role model. Everything you do will have a ripple effect, whether that's in the home or that's with your team. Okay. All right. So reduce stress. All right. So staying healthy is huge right now. Right. And again, you're not on the road. You're not having to go all over the place. You're confined. Right. And what an incredible opportunity to reconnect with yourself, to reconnect with those in your household. Okay. Now, finding ways to stay productive. Okay, so this is tough. Now I will say, with everything and all the shifts and adaptations and changes that we're having to make, right, it's vital that you are able to navigate and manage multitasking. A lot of us are good multitaskers. We can say, nope, I need to do 6 or 7 things, knock them out, pop, 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 pop. Awesome, okay? But when you are in a position where you have a confined space, a space that's been put to the side for you to focus on work, and then you can hear your children, right, doing their homeschooling in the living room, and there's a lot of stimuli going on, right? You hear them talking or they're screaming or whatever it is that's going on. Then you're dealing with this conference call and you have to put out this fire over here and this fire over there. It is essential that you take the time to put things in their place, okay? Let me say it again. Put things in their place. Create an environment, right, that is the most productive and conducive to your health and well-being and stress management, and encourage your team members to do the same, okay? You have a blueprint, right, that we're setting for you this morning, right? We're giving you those 5 basic steps in order to adapt culture, all right? Alter the way in which you're doing things. You want to pass that on. You want to create a ripple effect and invite discussion, invite conversation with your team members, your partners, your family members on how it is that you all can maintain a healthy lifestyle. What is it that other people are doing? Maybe you get a group challenge going on. Maybe in your own family. I have a friend of mine who just did this. He did a squat challenge with his kids, right? And so everybody, every single morning, they go in the garage and it's a race, okay? Who can get to 100 squats first? All right. So now you're creating a new dynamic, right, with your family. Who's to say you don't get on a Zoom or a webinar and do the same thing with your team members, right? Maybe it's not squats, maybe whatever it is. Use this time, right, to let people know that you care not just about their professional performance, but about their personal well-being. And it sounds really good, right? And it can absolutely be lip service. So many companies have sent campaigns, hey, we're thinking about you, do something about it. Right? Be creative, be innovative, create something that's going to facilitate cohesion and build your team members, build your family members, reconnect you all, get you closer. So if you don't have communication at the level of dialogue, you can get there. Okay. All right. So number 4, taking ownership, right? So 4 so far, right? So first and foremost, strengthen team communication. Number 2, ensure your team members have the right tools. Number 3, ensure focus on consistent and constant cultural adaptation. And number 4, take ownership. All right, now let's talk about number 5, all right? Number 5 is this. You ready? All right. Learn and apply something new every day, all right? Say it again. learn and apply something new every day. Our brain, we have this incredible thing, right? The things that are called neural pathways, right? Neural pathways, they get conditioned, right? Neurologically, our body, when we're doing something over and over and over again, when we're making decisions over and over and over again, when we're thinking about a situation in a certain way over and over again, we are conditioning neural pathways. Now, our body's very smart, right? It doesn't like to burn more energy than it has to. So what ends up happening? As you go throughout your daily regimen, as you go throughout things that you are doing, your body sticks to those neural pathways. It doesn't like to deviate or have to create new ones, right? It takes work. That's why doing new things sometimes, it feels really hard, right? Because it's different. You're having to legitimately create new neurons that are firing off to create new ways of thinking of things. But if you take this opportunity to not just to learn new things, it's easy for me to go and read up on new content, right? New knowledge, right? How am I applying it, right? I don't want it to be just something that is registering in my brain. I want it to be something that's going to change the way in which I do what I do, adapting culture, right? I want to constantly feed myself positive things that are going to push me to grow. Because guess what's going to happen? If you can push yourself to learn new things and adapt, right, to new things, your team members are going to see that. So as you're having your weekly check-ins to say, hey, tell me one thing that you learned and applied this week, go. Guess what? Now you're facilitating dialogue, right? And now people are learning new things, new facets, new interests about their team members, and there is intrinsic value to that. Intrinsic value is extremely important. In a time of extrinsic value, right? People yearn for this. They yearn to have a connection to something bigger than themselves. And when you're connected to a team, when you're connected to folks and you know certain things that they're doing, when you know certain challenges that they have set themselves, certain goals they have set for themselves, new things that they're pushing themselves to learn, that's contagious, right? And when you're talking about being able to have the proper communication, to have the right mentality, to have the right state of mind, right? And being able to push through change, being able to adapt the way in which you do things, that's an incredibly powerful thing. So push yourself to learn and apply something new every day. It doesn't have to be big. It can be something very small. See, I'll give you an example, right? My wife and I were both doing this right now. We both have taken the time, right, to go and learn how to garden, right? And so YouTube's an incredible thing, right? So we've created 2 small gardens in our backyard. We did it last week, right? It was an incredibly fun project, right? Now next week, it's on to something new, okay? So, and she's the one who's picking it. So little things like that are incredibly beneficial and productive. So let's review these 5, okay? Number 1, strengthen your team communication. Remember, the big thing here is you want to strive to have communication with your team members and your family members at the level of dialogue. Dialogue meaning it is comfortable, it is open, it is authentic. I'm not feeling restricted. I'm not feeling suffocated in what I want to say and how I want to say it. Number 2, make sure your team members have the right tools, and your family members, make sure they have the right tools, okay? If they don't have the right tools, how can you expect them to rise to the occasion and fulfill the mission or objective at hand? So if it's technology, make sure they're up to speed on it, all right? If it's something else, make sure they're equipped with it. Number 3, ensure a focus on consistent and constant cultural adaptation. You have to maintain discussions. You have to maintain teamwork, and you have to be trustworthy. You have got to make sure that your team members know they can trust you. They have to know that you have their best interest at heart, all right? Yes, it's important to have the company's best interest at heart. Yes, it's important to have your family's best interest at heart, right? But individually, they need to feel, right, that you have their back, that you are there for them no matter what, all right? Number 4, take ownership. Own this time. Own the opportunity for change. Own the opportunity to shift the way in which you view things and how you do things, okay? It's extremely important. And number 5, learn and apply something new every day and share it, right? Doesn't mean you act like a know-it-all, right? But share, hey, I challenged myself last week that by the end of this week, I'm going to be able to learn this and apply this, okay? Guess what? share it with folks. It's going to inspire and it's going to motivate them to do the same. Okay, so with that being said, we're at 9:25. We got 5 minutes left. If you have any questions, all right, I invite you, please, on the chat, make sure you put it that it's going to all panelists and all attendees. Put your chat question in there, all right? My personal contact information is on the side as well. If you don't feel comfortable, okay, posting it to the public, that's okay. Shoot me a text, give me a call, send me an email, okay? We here at CEO Effectiveness, we're here for you, all right? Now understand, for us at CEO Effectiveness, or we call ourselves CEOE, effectiveness. We want to be as effective as possible, right? And equipping and empowering you with the communication tools, with the right mindset, with a clear understanding of what your mental models are, right? Now, we have talked about mental models in previous webinars, but one thing I just want to say before we close about your mental models is this. The sooner you can recognize what your own mental models are, meaning the blueprint, the underlying thing, right? When you think of an iceberg, the tip of the iceberg, no, that's not your mental models. The tip of the iceberg are the behaviors, your outward behaviors that people can see, okay? Below that, all right, there's conditioned responses which come from your mental models. So your mental models are at the deep roots, right, of what it is that fuel how you think and what you think. That all stems from early childhood. So the sooner you can tap into those mental models, the sooner you can understand the whys and the whats, right, of the underlying and the arching sentiment of who you are, right, the more effective you're going to be. Because if you can spot, all right, those strengths and those weaknesses and where they come from, it's going to allow you to be that much more authentic because you're going to know yourself that much better. And when you know yourself that well, it takes away ego. It takes away pride. You don't have anything to prove. You just want to be better, okay? And we invite you to do so, and we're happy to help you along that process. So if you have any questions, by all means, please put them on the chat. If you don't have any questions, we thank you so much for your time. Stay safe, stay healthy, and please leave us some feedback. We always like to make these webinars as effective as possible, right? And equip you with things that are palpable, things that are not, too convoluted and dense with information, but still get to the point. Dr. Gino Collura with CEO Effectiveness. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we thank you so much for your time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk to you all soon.